video, I'm going to be talking about cross training, specifically powerlifting with running. This morning I had a 5K race, and afterwards I have my high volume squat day. I just finished my 4th set of 8 on high bar. By far the hardest thing about cross training is there's just not enough days in the week. You kind of have to double up the days. So I'm either doing squats on fatigue legs or I'm running on fatigue legs. But I'll talk all about cross training in today's video. Let's just go ahead and hop right in. I'm currently finishing up my accessories. So after my 5 sets of squats, I have step ups, RDLs, and cable wood chops. For the most part, when it comes to cross training, you're going to be sacrificing your performance on both ends. You're not going to be the best you could be at running or powerlifting or vice versa. So I think the biggest 2 benefits of why you should still do it anyways, especially in off season, number 1 is it's going to improve your work capacity. So especially on those higher up sets, like I had 4 sets of 8 on high bar, it's really lame to have your strength be limited by your cardio. So I've noticed that especially on my higher up sets of squats or my split squats or step ups, doing step ups today, they're a lot easier. I'm also taking less rest time. I used to be like taking 5-minute rest in between each leg when I was doing a heavy single leg exercise. Now I can just breeze right through them, which is an added benefit. And second, it might seem like it's not a benefit, but it manages the amount of load that you're lifting overall, because you can't be at your top end strength all year round. So you might be sacrificing a little bit of your top end strength on your top set, but it's going to give your body a little bit of a break. And then when you do get into a strength peaking block, taper down the running, maybe not run at all, and then it's going to feel a lot better once you get into that specific powerlifting focused training block. So when I get into comp prep, I'm going to be tapering down the running to eventually no running at all in my last block before the platform. And the third reason why you should cross train, whether you're an endurance athlete or a strength athlete, is it's pretty lame. If you're the fastest person in the world, but you can't bench press your own body weight, or if you're the strongest person in the world, you can't even run a mile, that's not gonna be good for your long-term health. It's really easy when you're in your 20s or your 30s to not have the foresight about that, lose sight of the fact that you're training for life. So it's good to take a break from specific training endeavors to make sure you're more well-rounded and healthy, so that as you age, you're gonna be a lot better off. I started powerlifting when I was 21, now I'm 31, and I've gotten a lot stronger over that time, but I've also improved in other health aspects, which has made my progress a little bit slower in strength terms, but overall it's going to pay off in the long run. I'm just finishing up my last exercise of the day, and in the rest of the video I'm going to talk about the best way to lay out your lifting programming, whether you want to lift 5 times a week, 4 times a week, 3 times a week. I'm currently running twice a week, lifting 5 times a week. So I'm going to talk about how I'm laying out my program to focus still primarily on powerlifting, but with a secondary focus on running. Also talk about some other ways to go about it if you want to have the vice versa goals, focused on running, less on powerlifting. So we'll hop into that. So I'm going to show some lifts from week 2 of my current training block, and then as I'm doing that, I'm going to talk about how I'm balancing my lifting split with my running split. Like I mentioned, I'm lifting 5 times a week and I'm running twice a week, and 3 of those 5 lifting days are heavy lower body days, so it makes it really hard to optimally program with running. So running is definitely on the back burner for me right now. Even though I'm in off season, I'm in my last off-season block. I'm starting competition prep in 2 more weeks. I'm really excited about that. But when you're training legs 3 times a week, it's hard to fit in runnings without being super fatigued and without having carryover into your training on the squat and the deadlift, and obviously all the other lower body accessories. So what I do is I double up on days so that I can have complete days off of legs. So I'm either squatting and running on the same day or deadlifting and running on the same day, and I'm usually doing my runs after my lifts so that I can still prioritize my lifts. However, on the race day, I did end up running in the morning and then lifting afterwards, and my legs were definitely more tired, but I find that because I'm used to it, because I'm running right after lifting, sometimes I'm like really tired. There was one time I did a trail run and my quads were literally cramping because I did my run right after my high volume squat day. So what's working best for me is if I do my runs after my strength leg days, so my strength squat day and my strength deadlift. So what was working best for me for the first 4 months of off season, first 4 training cycles, was to do those runs on Tuesday and Thursday, because those were my primary squat and deadlift days, and then just doing them immediately after my workout, and then making the Tuesday run easier than the Thursday run, so that way it didn't affect the Thursday deadlift that was going to happen before the run. However, this most recent off-season block, because my race fell on a Saturday, I decided to try up changing my running days to Saturday and Tuesday, and I did notice it was a little bit harder because I'm having to do my runs on my secondary squat day, which is my more volume heavy squat day. So my quads were like cramping a little bit because I was running after my squat day the first week, and then the second week I did my race before the squat day. So my quads were obviously tired for my leg day after the run. So it's either like you're squatting on fatigue legs or running on fatigue legs. But next week for weeks 3 and 4, I'm going to try it out to see if I like Sunday and Tuesday as my running days. So I'm going to plan on doing, it doesn't really matter because I have a bench day on Sunday. It's my secondary bench day. So I'm either going to run before or after my lifting day. Again, it doesn't really matter because I'm not training legs on that day. And then I'll have a complete rest day on Monday. And then I'll see how my legs feel on Tuesday. And then if they feel a little bit tired, then I will move my second run to Thursday. But I'm going to try that split out next. And with running, I'm not trying to be a super ultra marathon runner or anything with super crazy long distances. So my first run is focused on steady state, easy to moderate speed, and then my second run is focused on tempo. So I'm either doing intervals or I'm doing like a tempo build run, something that's going to be working more on speed and focused on making sure I'm keeping my time under a 7-minute mile pace. And the biggest considerations I'm taking with programming my runs is making sure my volume isn't, again, too crazy to where it's going to be affecting my lifting, because lifting is the priority, especially as I'm coming up on competition prep. So I'm just trying to be more well-rounded. I'm not trying to do crazy mileage. Really, my mileage is about 6 miles per week, and then in competition prep it's going to get even less than that. I'm probably going to go down to like 3 or 4 miles a week, and then my last training block probably just literally 2 miles a week to make sure I don't lose that adaptation, and then a couple weeks before I'll just take running out completely. But the focus right now is on lifting. If I were to move into a more running focused split, which I'm planning on doing after the competition, I would change my split like this. The first thing I would do if I wanted to focus more on running and still have lifting as a priority, but not care as much about the frequency of hitting specifically lower body, I would still end up benching 3 times a week. Nothing would change with my upper body training, but I would end up changing my lifting split to just 2 lower body days a week. So I'd have a secondary squat with my primary deadlift day, and then I'd have a primary squat day. So I'd still be hitting the same frequency of legs. It would just be more consolidated into 2 workouts, and then probably a little bit less leg accessories because you can't fit everything in there if you're doing 2 days instead of 3. And then this would give me an opportunity to train a run as a complete day where I have one focused running day, and then I could still do another day of running after a bench day, double up, and then still have enough recovery time for legs. And then if I really wanted to get serious about my running journey but still didn't want to lose lifting gains, I would change to, first of all, just backing off to a 4-day split instead of a 5-day split. So I would just increase the running frequency to 3 times a week, and then I would double up on one of those days, but then I'd have 2 running focus days where I don't have to lift on them. And then if I wanted to go even further than that, I would change to 3 full body days a week, so I'm still lifting. You can get a lot out of a 3-day lifting split, and then 3 runs per week, maybe even 4, and then you'd still probably have to double up on one of those days if you do the 4 runs a week. And I'm not by any means going to be dropping everything with my powerlifting goals and going all hardcore into focusing on running. Right now, I'm really, really excited to enter my specific powerlifting focused training phase, but I do think there's something to say about changing your lifting split around. I've been on the same powerlifting focused lifting split even during pregnancy for about the past 5 years now, and there is value in changing it up, in changing into different focus, even that if that means flipping your workout split drastically. There are ways to still keep your lifting gains and not lose everything by being in the gym less days and changing up to other training. Also brings up another good conversation point about less is more. So even if you can only be in the gym twice a week, you can, again, still get a lot out of a 2-day lifting split, and you can still make progress. And even if you can't get a run in every single week, if you run once a month, you're still going to make progress. If you're just doing something, that's better than doing nothing. Even if you only have 10 minutes, you can still make progress with 10 minutes a day of doing something for your health. But I think that staying consistent
and setting goals that are realistic for yourself, even if it's not going to be training super hard 5 times a week and then going in and also doing running on top of that. You can still make progress, and it's still fun to do anything related to your health. And I just love fitness, every single thing about it. I love training, I love being able to push my body, and I'm really excited for this competition prep to come up. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of things related to my competition prep and more specifically geared towards powerlifting, but I'll also still talk about the running and the cross training and all that. But let me know what you want to see in future videos. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.